So, Andy Hayles, Charcoalblue. What did you take away from the conference, Theatres Trust conference today?
First of all, a kind of sadness that once again the service of theatre consultancy is so invisible in this country that somehow lots of us have spent lots of taxpayers' money on building schools for the future without taking any advice from people that design theatres for a living. We wouldn't dream of building schools for the future without talking to electrical engineers and structural engineers and architects. Frankly, why the beep have we built all these school theatres without taking professional theatre consultancy advice, or even talking to drama teachers, or even allowing the contractors that are fitting them out to express their concerns and to listen? It's a travesty, really.
Whose ignorance is it? Is it the architect's ignorance in not getting somebody in, or...?
I think so. It's the process that has been developed for BSF to date would seem to be of buying and delivering a building, not designing one. If you're delivering something that's 27,000 square metres, how can you spend enough time honing a performance space for young people? There clearly isn't time for an architect that's doing that vast job to focus in on one area for the length of time that's needed. And what's clearly come out of the conference is that these spaces are difficult, more difficult than classrooms, potentially more difficult than the hair and beauty salons and the car maintenance bits and the brickwork teaching rooms. They're probably more complicated than the physics lab.
Well, I imagine that they've developed templates for those rooms, and that actually it's a new thing to be building theatres in schools, and that they really haven't done the consultation with the right people before launching into it.
And that depressing phrase, fitness for purpose.
Yes.
You know, apparently, so long as something is double height, has rake seating in it, it's fit for purpose. It doesn't matter if actually the doors to stage are in the back of the seating rake. It doesn't matter if the stage is only big enough to put a table tennis bat on it.
So how do you think it should be addressed, communicating the role of the theatre consultant, why it's so important for them to be
I would say that, wouldn't I? I'm a theatre consultant.
Well, I know that.
I think I think this stakeholder concept that's now been introduced by this shift of focus and bringing arts and cultural advisors into the scheme will make a difference. I don't quite understand yet who those people will be, but certainly they will create the need for a review to happen. Great news from the conference that the ABTT and the Society of Theatre Consultants have volunteered to help rewrite the Building Bulletin 98 and get that advice current and up to date. That will help a great deal. Lots of us have offered to do peer reviews within the process. Every theatre consultant in the country needs our school kids to be working in great theatre spaces so that when they leave they go on to drama school or university to carry that forward and then want to build and work in the theatres of the future. We need that. We need that to happen. We need the aspirations to be high from everybody, not just those in deprived areas. We want that aspiration base. One of the kids, that spoke on the platform this morning. What if I happen to be in the catchment area of a science specialist school, but I want to do performing arts? Does that mean that my science specialist school is going to have great labs but absolutely crap theatre facilities? And this idea of sharing facilities across a region, that might work in densely populated urban areas, but even then, am I really going to walk for 20 minutes to the drama studio down the road for what will then have impacted on my lesson time while my colleagues doing science have just strolled around the corner? Okay, I understand there have to be specialisms and all of that, but it doesn't mean that the base provision for the other parts of the curriculum should be abandoned. I thought it was very revealing that Sport for England can afford to send 2 advisors to every BSF project that's getting off the ground. Well, where are the representatives from the Society of Theatre Consultants and Theatres Trust, the Arts Council, in developing and assisting these spaces? Clearly they're not funded. Sport is. Why wouldn't the arts be? The idea that the statutory consultee status of the Theatres Trust, where, as Maura Samuel defined it today, as long as it's for public use, any planning application that contains a theatre will cross the Theatres Trust desk. If any school theatre could also be passed across the Theatres Trust desk, again, it's the prompt for a review and good common sense, as Rick Green said, a lot of this is good common sense.
Yeah, as with most things.
Yeah, Ollie Hayden's example of, the Foster's Academy in Slough is a great example. There's a fantastic architect who's delivered fantastic performing arts buildings, doing an absolute shoddy job of a school theatre. You can't get to the control position unless the retractable seating is pulled out.
That was outrageous.
So how do you teach technical theatre in that room? You have to deploy the seating. Well, that means you can't use the rest of the space as a classroom. Come on, schoolboy error.
Or leave the poor bugger up there.
Yeah. He's still here. I'm sure we finished that last Friday. I've been here all weekend.
So, what has it made you take any action, or are you going to put any pressure on anyone to try and?
Well, interestingly for us, having moaned about the fact that people aren't taking advice, since the arts and culture pressure has been applied, we have been approached more in the last year on BSF. Previously, not at all.
Right.
Our latest problem is now that our advice is sought early on in the project when everyone's working at risk. We're not paid for that advice. Fair enough. We give the advice, but because it's free, it's not taken very seriously. So I have a current example where we've advised on a school that has the theatre on the first floor. Has the theatre got to be on the first floor? We said yes, it does, because the dining hall's underneath. Okay, you will need a lift then to get stuff up to the theatre. And in that theatre, when you're in there, you will need some lighting bridges. There's a lovely drawing, showed all of those things on being brought back to the scheme just before they submit it for the bid closure forthcoming in the next couple of months. Sure enough, the lift's been cut, the lighting bridges have been cut. The space doesn't work. It's on the first floor, it doesn't work. Actually now, it's had our advice, it's got our name on it, it's not going to work. So that's going to be the next challenge, is trying to make the advice stick and be taken seriously by the people who've sought it in the first place.
Exactly.
So the challenges will mushroom. I like to think we're on the cutting edge of that. I'm not sure that the rest of the conference have been exposed to perhaps the BSF process as much as we've been fortunate to find ourselves. But
right.
Hopefully, as it gathers momentum, the peer reviews will happen, the advice will be taken seriously, the spaces will start getting better, and then it will be a success story. At the moment, it's a faintly depressing conference.